I'm going to get started a little bit early here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the City of Des Moines Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for January 20, 2011. I'd like to kind of go over the rules and procedures for everybody here tonight. The Planning and Zoning Commission is generally an advisory body to the City Council. The City Council is going to hold public hearings and make final decisions on all matters before this commission other than site plans. This commission's decision to approve or deny a site plan is the final decision by the city unless the applicant, the person applying for the site plan, appeals to City Council. So you'll need to contact the city clerk or community development department staff. Too long away from here. Department staff for details on those council hearings. All right. This evening, the applicant's going to be given 10 minutes to present their request after a presentation by staff. Proponents and then opponents will be allowed to speak, with each speaker allowed a maximum of 5 minutes. The applicant will then be given 5 minutes for a rebuttal. The hearing will then be closed, and after a motion, the commission will discuss and vote on the issue. All the comments this evening are to be germane to the issues under consideration, and speakers are to maintain a courteous manner. Items listed on the consent portion of the agenda will not be individually discussed and will be considered for approval in accordance with the recommendation of staff report, unless an individual present or a member of the commission requested that item be removed from the consent agenda and separately considered under the public hearing agenda. The City of Des Moines is pleased to provide accommodations to individuals or groups with disabilities and encourages participation in city government. I'm really happy to see all of you here tonight. To better serve you when possible, please notify us at least 3 business days in advance at area code 515-283-4209 should special accommodations be required. Assistive listening devices are available for meetings in the council chambers. Planning and Zoning Commission meetings are also broadcast on MediaCom cable channel 97-1 or on channel 86 for digital service customers. Obviously, you won't be here if you're doing that. The broadcast is also streamed live in real time on the City of Des Moines website at www.dmgov.org. You'll need to click Watch Live link on that particular site. Kathy, we have a quorum being present. Did you have something, Mike?
Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, item number 7 has requested a continuance to February 17th. So that item does not need to be considered this evening other than a continuance. If you want to go ahead and move that.
Item number 7 to February 17th?
Correct.
Good minutes. Is there a motion for that? Well, let's get the minutes out of the way first. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes? Any discussions, changes?
Move.
Seeing none? They're moved. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Carries. Okay, so that we're going to do that continuance on item number 7. Ken, it's your motion?
Yep.
All right. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, same sign. If there was anybody here on item number 7, is there anybody here on item number 7? Let me read it for you so that we're sure that everybody has a gist of what's going on. Request from Get and Go Convenience Stores, represented by Peter Clint for site plan under design guidelines for gas station convenience stores on property located at 806 Southeast 14th Street to allow removal of the existing vacant gas station convenience store and allow development of a 2,856 square foot convenience store with 8 fueling stations. The subject property is owned by Bangor Properties. Is there anyone here that was here for that particular item? Okay, that's good. All right. Moving along, item number 1.
Did we vote on that?
Yeah, we did. I hope. Item number 1 is on the consent list, and I want to go over that real quickly with you. Request from Charles Gavis Ford, represented by Charles H. Gavis, officer for review and approval of a site plan, Gavis Ford New Car Delivery Edition under design guidelines for vehicle display lots on property located at 4545 Merle Hay Road to allow construction of a 1,146-foot building addition. The subject property is owned by Charles H. Gavis Trust. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to that item here tonight? In opposition? Is there anyone sitting in the audience that doesn't know which one you're here for? All right. Because I want to make sure. I don't want to go on past and have somebody say, well, wait a minute, went by me. So if there's anybody who has a question, please raise your hand. We'll try and take care of that for you tonight. Okay? All right. The second consent item is a request from Grandview University, represented by Adam Voits, for the following with regard to proposed expansion of Grandview East PUD. Vacation of a segment of Morton Avenue from Idaho Street to the east. Everybody understand that one? Determination as to whether the proposed rezoning and conceptual plan amendment are in conformance with Des Moines 2020 Community Development Character Plan. Okay. Rezoning of property located at 1422 and 1431 Morton Avenue to R160, family low density residential, to PUD, which is planned unit development. 1422 Morton Avenue is owned by Russell and Betty Walker. Amend the Grandview East PUD conceptual plan to expand off-street parking and landscaping on the southwest portion of the East Campus. Is there anyone here to speak on any of those items, in opposition to those items? All right, seeing none. Brian, did you have a request?
Nope.
Okay. Oh, well, that's right. Item 3 is on here, too. All right, I'm sorry. Item 3 is a request from Army Post Development, represented by Richard Margulies, for review and approval of the following: vacation and conveyance of a segment of Gannett Avenue running east of Southwest 34th Street and a segment of Southwest 34th Street running north of Gannett Avenue. Is there anyone here to speak on those items? In addition, they're going to want to amend the Airport Business Park Phase 2 PUD concept plan. Once again, a PUD is a planned unit development, to allow for changes to public street network and lot configuration of business park to allow the development of a new warehouse facility. And the last one is amend to the preliminary plat for Airport Business Park. Is there anyone to speak on that particular item in opposition? Okay, seeing none. Do we have a motion? Ken?
I have a motion to move item number 9 if the applicant is in concurrence with the staff recommendations. I'd like to move item number 9 to the consent agenda.
All right, let me read item number 9. It's a request from 400 Southeast 6th, Inc., represented by Nicholas Ritz, for review and approval of an amended site plan under design guidelines for C3B districts on property located at 400 Southeast 6th Street to allow alterations in the design approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission on September 15, 2010 for the proposed restaurant use. As everybody will remember, it's a small restaurant. It's a kind of, what, 19 around the turn of the century house.
Turn of the century house. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to that particular item? Now let me ask the applicants, are you all right with staff's recommendations? And I'm hearing your head nod. That's correct. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I have a recommendation to the staff comments and on that particular item, please.
Okay.
Now or later?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and we'll get it out of the way, because we're going to move them on to consent.
That's fine.
I mean, if there's a problem there, Will, and you want to take it off, we could.
No, it's a simple one, and it has to do with the staff recommendation to replace the half timbering on the front facade, on the half story. You know what I'm talking about? The staff theory or opinion is that would return it to the original design of the house. That particular thing was probably put in the 1970s. The house itself dates from the late 19th century. And in my opinion, returning the half timbering to the front of the house would be returning the half timbering in a remodeled fashion.
No, actually, we're saying remove the half timbering, which was done in the past year. The house originally had lap siding before they started work on the property.
So the lap siding would be returned?
Yeah, we're saying go back to lap siding.
That's fine. Thank you.
Any other questions on that item? Seeing none, we're going to go ahead and take up the motion to move item number 9 on to consent. Mike, are you with us?
Yeah.
Do you understand what's going on? Or can somebody bring you up to speed? Okay. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Okay, acclamation, Kathy.
Move consent.
All right, Kent's moving the consent agenda. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Jack?
I know you're going to ask for a vote on consent. I have to abstain on number 1. Consent.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jack. Any others? Anything else? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Acclamation again, Kent. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to item number 4. Bert, are you presenting on that one, or is Jason? Okay. Thank you, Bert.
You didn't know where you were?
Thank you, Bert.
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, Bert Ross, planner for the City of Des Moines. Item number 4 is a request for a site plan under the design guidelines for vehicle display lots, and it would allow for retention and improvements to the existing Autorama RV display lot on Southeast 14th Street, just to the south of East Hartford Avenue. Give you a little background information on this. There's been some zoning enforcement on the site in the past year and a half. The zoning enforcement officer determined that the RV display lot had expanded to the or illegally onto the rear portion of the property where the drive-in theater used to be. The applicant had appealed that determination to the Zoning Board of Adjustment. The Zoning Board of Adjustment upheld the zoning enforcement officer's determination that it had expanded illegally, but the board did grant them a temporary 10-year variance that allows them to use a portion of this area back here on gravel for the 10 years. However, the graveled area can only be used for the storage of RVs, and it cannot be open to the public. So what we'll have tonight is a site plan that would allow a portion of the existing vehicle display lot up front to be paved, and then another portion of it to have recycled asphalt products.
Bert, when they say recycled asphalt products, what are you talking about?
I guess
You don't know.
it's like an asphalt, but it's a
Typically, it's an asphalt milling that they basically
But
have
it'd be a
recycled, and then they pump basically oil or whatever back to it so it can be rolled.
But it'd still be a hard surface.
Yeah, and the city engineers determined that it's a durable and dust-free surface. So, here's a picture of the site plan. They would be putting the new recycled asphalt down in this cross-hatched area here. This area up here is existing pavement already. One of the biggest improvements to the site is that they would be removing the paving within the front yard setback, and they would be restoring that with landscaping. So it would definitely be a visual improvement to traffic as they're heading down Southeast 14th Street. Some of the bigger deficiencies with the current version of the site plan have to do with the landscaping. They currently haven't demonstrated the required landscape buffer along the south property line. There is a pretty dense tree canopy here, but they haven't identified what trees are in there. So there's a chance some of the trees there could be counted towards the required buffering and screening, but the site plan doesn't specifically confirm that. They will, since these are single-family residential lots to the south, they will have to provide a 6-foot tall solid screen along these properties. And since right now the improvements stop right here, we would only be recommending or requiring that screen for this portion here. That screen could either be achieved through a row of evergreens, a berm, or a 6-foot tall fence.
Bert, just back up right here because I suspect you're going to be moving on. How far is that 6-foot fence? You waved your pen over it, but how far is that 6-foot fence going to go to?
I believe it's about 200 feet, give or take.
And the idea is to screen it from the housing there, right?
Yeah, yeah. And like I mentioned earlier, there is a pretty dense tree canopy here already, so a portion of those trees could possibly be used to meet the screen. Yeah. Yeah, if you look, there's quite a few trees here, so we just want clarification that it's going to be that.
Okay.
There was a discrepancy in the staff report. In the staff report, we had mentioned that existing chain link fence would be moved out of the front yard setback. However, that would remain here in the front yard setback. It's zoned C2 commercial, which does allow for that chain link fence there, so that's not a problem. The fence, as it is today, does have 3 strands of barbed wire on top of it. If that were to be put in today, it wouldn't be allowed. However, it has been there for quite some time, so the zoning enforcement officer has determined that it has legal non-conforming rights to stay there. So,
Bert, in addition, going back again on your landscaping there at the front, or maybe not.
maybe. Turn the autofocus off.
What's that?
Let's turn the autofocus off. Did you have a question about that?
Yeah, that doesn't exist right now. There's no landscaping in there.
In the
And-
photos I'm about to show you, there are some evergreen trees that have been planted.
And how soon would that landscaping need to be put into place?
It couldn't happen until planting season, but it would have to be first thing in planting
Yeah, but I'm
season.
saying, do we have a guideline saying it has to be put into place by such and such a date? Okay.
I don't think the zoning enforcement officer would just be tracking it. Here are a few pictures. You can see the existing fence as it is today, and then right now the vehicles are displayed pretty much right up to the fence. As a result of the site plan, the paving setback would be moved back 30 feet, and there'd be a significant landscape row of trees and shrubs be planted in there. Here's another view, and you can see the fence and the trailers. I believe this picture is, this is the north end of the site. And then we did not get any consent maps or consent cards back. So staff believes that while there are a few deficiencies on the site plan, they can still be satisfied by working with the Permit Development Center. So we've recommended approval of the site plan, just subject to 3 conditions. 1, compliance with all administrative comments of the Permit and Development Center. 2, compliance with all landscaping, planting requirements for buffer yards, open space, and interior lot landscaping. And then 3, in addition of a note stating that there should be no elevated display of vehicles within the front yard setback. So, any questions? Yeah.
So we're going to be putting this new landscaping where he had tried to stick those arborvitaes in the front. Am I right?
Well, I believe those arborvitaes were actually within the street right-of-way. This new landscaping would be on his property, so it'd actually be behind where
Behind
the
it.
fence is, yes.
Okay. I can't tell by looking.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you, Bert. The applicant present, could we please have them come forward, give us your name and address?
Hi, Vince Pagentini, Associate Engineering Company of Iowa, 2917 Martin Luther King Jr. Parkway, Des
It's
Moines.
Vince, right?
Vince, yep. We're asking for a bit of relief on the landscaping issues. To the south, the buffer, that's, I think hold on, they got my pictures.
Well, Vince, are you asking about the south side
The south
relief?
side right now.
And the problem, and I think you heard it from Bert, the problem is we don't have any information from you guys yet, what's there.
Right.
That certainly could be used to offset it. I'm sure staff would be willing to work with you on that, but until we have that information, it's going to be tough for us to give you relief.
Okay. Because I've got some pictures, but because you're saying.
No, and I know, and that's what he just talked to us about.
Yeah.
Go ahead and show him.
Well, honestly, you're asking for a berm. The grade from the front is 6 feet higher at the start of the turn there. And as it goes back, it's 30 feet higher when you get to the back here. So I'm not sure what a berm would do for us. And then opaque fencing, they're already looking over the top of the fence, as you can see. So, but I guess
staff certainly needs to have some information from you guys before they can make that determination.
Okay, so basically we just need to get a tally of tree types and all on that.
Tree
Okay.
survey, right.
Okay. For the interior parking planning requirements, we're asking for a relief of approximately 50%. We were able to get into this area here, 22 trees and 60 shrubs. The requirement's 41 trees and 123 shrubs. By putting them anywhere else, we're going to be taking a lot of space out of the parking, which then therefore would also reduce the required shrubbery by doing that.
You're back in the tree survey again. Well, you're still going to need it.
So those are the two things. The south we can deal with, obviously, get some information.
Greg,
Normally, I would say we need all the landscaping we can, but to me, a far more offensive thing is the fence. And I'd much rather trade off some of this landscaping and have the fence moved behind the new landscaping than require them to put in what looks to be kind of a ridiculous pile of landscaping that really won't do much.
Which portion of the fence, I mean, when you say,
Whatever is along the East 14th Street right-of-way.
that's going to be these guys to discuss that.
Vince, you guys going to want some more time to...
You want to
I mean,
extend it?
it's kind of one of those deals. You can do whatever you want. I'm certainly not telling you what to do, but
It sounds like we need to.
I'd agree with Greg. This is a great business. Got some awesome-looking trailers and this ugly chain link fence with barbed wire up on top. If they're going to put in this landscaping, I would much rather give them a concession on a lot of the landscaping in the middle of it. If they'll do nice landscaping up front, move the fence, get rid of the barbed wire along East 14th, and do a tree survey along the south edge. I'll bet that you're going to eliminate most of your need.
sir, if you could please come forward, give us your name.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name's Jim Nervig. I'm with the Brick Gentry Law Firm, 6701 Westtown Parkway, West Des Moines. And I'm representing Ed Garner. I represented Ed before the Board of Adjustment, who we still owe a debt of gratitude for. You know, we're dealing with this is a transitional use, and the board was very good to give us a 10-year variance to allow the transition of this property to hopefully a higher and better use once East 14th does develop the way we all hope it will. This fence issue, though, is really becoming the crux of the issue, and where it comes down to is security. And Ed could talk to you for half an hour about the security problems he has with break-ins, and that's why he has an 8-foot fence with barbed wire at the top. It still isn't, you know, absolutely burglar-proof, and so, you know, that's our big issue is security for the site. He's got a lot of valuable recreational vehicles in there. We're willing to work with you. We're willing to, you know, postpone this matter for another month if there's something we can work with staff on. In
Jim,
the way
I think what you've already heard is the tree survey and those sorts of things. We don't have that in front of us tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're asking for a trade-off. We don't know what the trade-off's going to be. That's all I'm saying. So it's up to you guys. You can go forward if you want. I'm not telling you not to, but you understand. you're a lawyer, you know that you want the facts in front of you before you consider
Exactly.
the issue.
And we're hearing a lot of concerns about the fence, and
And staff's
could-
really
if I-
good to work with, frankly.
yeah, if I can have a second to talk to Vince about that.
Sure.
While you're doing that, Mr. Chairman? Even moving the fence back, even if it remains as it is, but if they move the fence back, allow the landscaping in front, he's still going to have his security.
I think even with the barb, the ugly look, if you get it back, you'll help immensely. But I think the fence, if they're wanting trade-off for landscaping, I think that
I would just point out that if they do move the fence back 30 feet, just by taking down the barbed wire, they lose their legal non-conforming status. So they would have to go to the
why would we
board.
want to move it 30?
Saying if they move it at all, if
They move it, they lose the
if
conform.
it lose, so they'd have to go back to the Board of Adjustment to get a variance.
But Bert, don't you agree that that's a reasonable request and the Board of Adjustment probably would go along with it?
I can't
If
speak
asked
for the
in
board.
advance?
Yeah,
I mean, they wouldn't want to take it down without getting
right.
a variance now.
Yeah, I can't really speak for the board, but
I like it.
Thanks, Bert.
Just having talked with Vince on this, I think it would be beneficial if we could postpone it. We're in the middle of the winter, nothing's going to happen anyway, and we appreciate your concern about the fence. If we had another month to work with Bert and staff, hopefully we can come up with something better to show you the next time.
Jim, you're looking at February 17th. Does that sound good?
That works for us, yeah.
Kent's moving it.
See the plant material right now. Just give it to me.
Kent's moving it continuance to the February 17th. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, same sign. And truthfully, Jim, if you guys would work with staff and see what we can get accomplished here, I think we can come out with a win-win situation.
We'll do our best, Mr. Chairman.
We appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I pulled it fast, sorry.
Was there anyone here to speak in opposition to this particular item? All right. Here's what I'm going to ask you. Do you want to wait until the 17th when it comes back before us to discuss this, or do you want to speak tonight? Obviously, if you speak tonight, you're looking at a month before we ever see this again. Just
I'd like to speak tonight so that that page we're on as a neighborhood association.
that's fine, and I'm not.
We'd like to.
I'm sure they'd like to hear it too. You're right. So if you come forward, give us your name and address.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. My name's Tim Fitzgerald.
Tim, what's your address?
2224 Evergreen. I'm the president of Riverwoods Neighborhood Association. However, I am not here representing Riverwoods.
Okay.
Quite frankly, we just found out about this.
So the 17th gives you more time, right?
Right.
Okay.
A concern, we're not in opposition. Mr. Garner's been in business and he has a very successful business, and we as Southsiders realize this. However, our concern is, well, you can see the fence. We have been trying so hard for the last 4 years, probably longer than that. I've been involved 4 years to try to beautify Southeast 14th, to make it a more pleasant street. It's one of our largest thoroughfares through our city. They're asking for relief. I have a concern. We have a county park that's down the road from here, and people from all over the country come to use this park, and there is a sign probably on the left-hand side of that little sedan that's there. What I'm trying to get at is if you're coming from the north or coming from the south going north, you cannot see the sign that focuses towards the county park, you'll miss it. And it's because they have their vehicles put up quite close. The setback, I love the idea of setting the fence back to what conforms with the 2020 plan. I know that there are crime issues, but there are crime issues everywhere, and I know we don't allow fences like that around our car lots on that area. So if we're going to have a fence, I'd like to see it moved back. Again, you know, it's the way it just comes off, and we can go through it, and I have nothing but good things to say about the business. However, the way it looks, it just doesn't articulate what we were trying to get at. The sidewalk, as you can see, is right on the bumpers of that sidewalk, and he's got great products. It doesn't look good the way it sits, and I was thrilled to hear that part of the plan was moving the trailers back. I'd like to know, are we planning on getting more inventory, or are we just mitigating the inventory that we have to this other area? That's just one of my questions. But those were my thoughts and my concerns. Again, we want to beautify Southeast 14th, and we'd like to work with Mr. Garner so that we can, as neighborhood associations, hopefully come up with a compromise on what looks better here, you know, with everything that we're doing to try to beautify Southeast 14th. And those are my concerns.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Before you leave, anybody have any questions of Tim? Okay, thank you. Please step forward, give us your name and address.
My name's Carol Jones. I live at 1603 Pioneer Road. I'm the Pioneer Park Neighborhood Association president, and I am the chairperson for the Coalition of Southside Neighborhood Associations. I'm glad there is a continuance until February, because I definitely would like a chance to look at the plans and everything a little bit more. I have to tell you that right now, Pioneer Park Neighborhood Association is very much opposed to an expansion of this business. Our concerns lie mainly in the fact that there have, for over the many, many decades that Mr. Garner has been in business, there has never been proper upkeep of this business. One of the things that Cessna would like to do in the near future is to beautify the intersection of Southeast 14th and Hartford. And his repair shop is on one of the corners of that intersection. It is an absolute junkyard. And so I guess our concerns are also, Pioneer Park is also working on developing and working with the city to develop and beautify Hartford, mainly because of the county sports complex. And we have a lot of concern if his business was to expand down there. In regard to your conversation about the south side of the property where there are the woods and all of that and the fence and this type of thing, what I will tell you, I have been told by my neighbors, because I do live on Pioneer Road, and I have had people come to my house and say that there are disposal tanks, raw sewage, being dumped back in that property. So, and these are the kind of things that really raise concerns for us. So we really, you know, landscaping is great, move the fence back, that's great, it all sounds good. But there are a lot of things that really need to be considered before this expansion is allowed.
Carol, I'm going to suggest a couple things. The first thing is, what I'm really going to urge you to do is contact staff, because they're going to be working with the business, and if you guys can get together and kind of get a mutual agreement. And the other thing is, I'd recommend that you contact enforcement if those sorts of concerns are coming up, or that the people that live there contact enforcement to enforce those. Anybody else have any other questions or discussion? Thank you.
Who should I contact at the city staff?
Before you leave, talk to Bert here, and he can help you.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sir, please step forward, give us your name and address.
Taryn Hansen, 5115 Southeast 9th, Des Moines, Iowa. I'm here, I'm Vice President of the South Park Association neighborhood. And first of all, I want to mention, I hope that Mr. Garner works with the neighborhood. A few years ago, we worked with Menards, and it was very adversarial. Today, Menards is probably one of our more supportive, businesses in our area, and we came through a lot of problems. And it's turned out to be very good for the city and for the neighborhood. And I know if they happen to have a chance to work together, you can work out your problems. What I would like to see, though, is that during an expansion, just like with Menards, all the property be brought up to current zoning and code regulations. For the simple reason is, if you piecemeal it in, part of it's up to code, part of it isn't, and it'll never look good. Bring it up. Now's the best time to do it. And it'll be a benefit to everyone. When you improve the properties and the looks of everything along 14th, it raises the value of everybody's property. It will bring in more customers for everyone. And I hope that all of us realize that. Thank you.
Any questions, Darren? Thank you, Darren.
Okay.
Is there anyone else that can't wait until the 17th to make your comments? Okay. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next item. Item number 5, request from Heather Carpenter, Cutcroft et al. For amendment to Carmen Estates PUD conceptual plan on property located at 2421 through 2458 East Porter Avenue to allow removal of a 30-foot wide conservation easement, allowing structures and fences to be located within portions of the rear yard area currently restricted by the easement. Jason, you're presenting on
Yes, Chair,
Thank you, sir.
members of the Commission, Jason Van Essen with the city's planning staff. The image before you is an aerial identifying the subject property or the development, the boundaries of the PUD. Easter Lake Drive to the north. The area of interest for tonight is the East Porter Avenue, which is kind of in the center of the PUD. Kind of the southern boundary being Peyton Avenue, Indianola Avenue to the west. The response map, the cards are being passed around. We had a mixed response, some in favor, some in opposition. This is a copy of the currently approved concept plan for the Carmen Estates PUD. This is the Porter Avenue. The 30-foot easement that we're discussing is along the rear of, actually it's these lots through here, and then the lots on the south side. The lots highlighted in yellow represent the applicants that are here tonight. Before I switch to some other information, I do want to point out the note that went along with the 30-foot easement was note PU condition number 23. And it reads, conservation easements are intended to protect and preserve trees to the extent possible during the construction of the subdivision. Tree protection measures include fencing around trees larger than 4 inches in diameter, 1.5 feet above the base. Home builders may remove trees where necessary for house site construction and remove inappropriate or damaged trees. But the preliminary plat shall include a tree survey mitigation protection plan. So we had the PUD that identified the conservation easement. Through the platting process, a easement was recorded. This is a copy of the document. The language within the easement that's really driving why we're here tonight is number 1, the erection of structures are prohibited. It says grantor shall not excavate within or erect, place, or maintain any structure, including but not limited to garages, accessory building, or fences on the easement area without obtaining the prior written consent of the community development director of the city. At this point, the community development director has been unwilling to give permission. We have this initially came to us as through the administrative review, and it was denied. So the next step was to bring it before you.
Jason, just to clarify, part of the reasoning behind that has just been that we worked fairly hard on these conservation easements to try and get those when the PUDs were originally platted. Obviously, in this situation, the trees were removed by the developer prior to the sale of the lots. So we're kind of in there's not a whole lot we can do about it at this point. But as far as approving it administratively, knowing how concerned the commission and the council were about easements in general, we didn't want to take that lightly and just allow them an administrative change to that. We wanted them to have to come before you and request the change. And I think that also gives a little bit of credence or value to the remaining easements that are there, that we are serious about wanting to maintain those in the future. So that was kind of the basis for the recommendation not to approve this administratively.
In our review of this, we went back through the aerials to try to see when perhaps this happened, get a sense of maybe what phase the responsibility of the removal lied. This is an aerial from 2006, and it's not showing up very well on your screen, but you actually can see that some silt fencing was put in kind of along that tree line. So when the primary grading was done and the streets were put in, that mixture of trees back there was still involved or still there in place. So that's 2006. This is 2007. It still pretty much shows the same thing. No houses on the north. You might have to take my word for it.
I'd rather see it.
There you go.
Okay. Technology.
Yep.
All right, so this is 2007, showing that it's still there. There hasn't been any house construction yet. Unfortunately, 2008, the aerials didn't turn out. They're not available. This is 2009. And you can see the houses are showing up, and you can see that the tree line is flush with the rear, with the back. And I think I have the 2010, it just kind of shows a more current situation. So you can also tell too that some of the newer houses, there's sod it's greener, it's in place, it's taking up the whole lot. We don't have, as Mike was saying, who exactly took out the trees is really hard for us to tell. It appears that it was done during the construction phase of each of the houses. The other thing that the PUD and the easement reference trees that are 4 inches or greater. When we went back through our record, it's hard. We couldn't find. There's no evidence that the trees that were there that were removed were 4 inches or greater or were not. So it's kind of hard for us to really completely solve the puzzle with regard to what shouldn't have been removed or what was okay. Taking that into account, let's see. We are kind of recommending a compromise, if you will. We are actually we are recommending denial. We do believe that there's still merit to having the easements in place, particularly on the south where actually there haven't been any removal. These trees are in place. We do have one of the applicants from the south side of the street that's part of the process. But those are there. So really, where our focus has been more with looking at it and thinking about the ramifications of making a decision on this has been more so on the north side where it's, they're not there. It doesn't appear that, the homeowners that are there today are the ones that took the trees out, but there is there's merits. The 2020 Community Character Plan talks about providing private open spaces. It also, we're concerned about the integrity of the PUD and how this plays out as it moves forward. There's other more practical reasons. The property to the north is yet to be developed and platted. This will have to be, tree surveyed and looked at. But, there are trees close to these property lines that would have drip lines that would extend into these properties. Having said that, we also recognize that there might be an opportunity to get some trees back here if we can, when there are cases where it makes sense to put something in, such as a fence. A fence isn't really going to disturb the root system of the trees to the north. There aren't, trees that you're going to have to weave it through currently. So perhaps with direction from I guess we're looking for direction from the Planning and Zoning Commission, then ultimately the City Council, that if there's a comfort level by the leadership of the city that the Community Development Director would feel comfortable with allowing these encroachments. The easement was written that way. With the sensitivity of the tree concern in Des Moines, as Mike discussed at the beginning, we're reluctant to do something unless it's been fully discussed at public hearing, neighbors are notified, and the public has an opportunity to discuss the matter. So, long-winded, what we're recommending is that the director be given the direction to go ahead and to allow encroachments if 2 overstory trees are planted back into that 30-foot easement. Per lot. So it'd be a lot by lot situation or discussion. People would come forward and then, it'd be discussed then. So obviously the applicants that are here tonight, they would, logically move forward. We still have some properties that aren't developed, so that would be taken up at a later date. Happy to answer any questions. And
Mr. Chair, could I have a restate the recommendation again?
okay.
Where we're at with your
and I apologize if I'm rambling a little bit. This is an unusual recommendation for us. Usually we're approve or deny, and there may be some conditions. But in this case, we are recommending denial of the request to get rid of the easement. However, what we're suggesting is tonight that the commission forward on to the council a recommendation that the community development director be given the direction to, on a case-by-case situation, allow for fences, encroachments within that easement, subject to 2 overstory trees being planted per the lot.
Do you understand it, Kent, now? Any other questions, comments? Joanne?
I am personally in favor of this easement. I agree with you folks. I believe that a lot of folks moved out that way because of the bit of wooded areas that was in there, the larger lots and the wooded areas back in there. It's with the lake and the way the drainage is in there. I think that it's important to maintain this easement because we need those trees. We need that kind of buffer in and around that whole area there. So I'm inclined to agree with you guys wholeheartedly.
Any other comments? Okay. Is there anyone here to speak? Are you done? I'm sorry.
I think I'm well done.
Sick of working you, right? Is there anyone here to speak in favor of, I guess, the easement?
Yeah.
Getting rid of the easement.
Yeah, in favor of the application.
Favor of the application. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the application? To get rid of the easement. Please come forward. Give us your name and address.
My name's Steve Reagan. I live on 20.
Steve, just a second.
Okay.
If there's anyone else, why don't you guys line up on the wall over here so we can kind of move it along. Steve, give us your name and address again.
My name is Steve Reagan. I live at 2434 Southeast Porter Avenue, lot 35, I believe it is. And, you know, there's a lot of talk about trees. There is no trees. And the trees that are back there are rotten. They left one tree in my yard that's rotten. Should have been took out anyhow. You know what I'm saying? And Jerry's Homes went in there. They're saying they don't know who removed the trees now. But they want us to come forward, pay all this money to try to get rid of the easement. Well, why didn't they get rid of the easement when they went back there? Why didn't the inspectors go back there and say, what happened to the trees? You know, before we moved in. You know, we all moved in there because it was a wooded area. And none of us, I've sent a paper to the planning zone showing that half the people that's on the north side, if not majority of people, had no idea that there was even an easement. Jerry's Homes did not notify anybody that there was an easement on their property. There's a conservation easement, 30-foot conservation easement on the back and a 20 on the front. 37% of my property is an easement. You know, there's no yard. We have no yard. Yeah, and it's just ridiculous for somebody to stand here and to fight for that easement when the easement's already been destroyed. It's been gone. There's nothing. There's maybe 8 trees down that whole side of the north side. And half of them's no good. Garbage. You know, that's what upsets me, is because homeowners, once again, have to foot the bill to come forward. We shouldn't even have to be here. This should have been changed or recognized before we even bought the home. That's basically what I have to say. I just hope that you guys do get rid of the easement. If not, let us still continue to keep all of our fences, sheds, or whatever it may be. You know, there's no reason to keep the easement. There is no easement.
Brian?
Steve, so staff has recommended that as a concession for the city council, that fences pretty much remain where they are, because it's already happened, but 2 overstory trees be planted in each of the yards.
Right.
Now is that a deal killer for you?
Well, who took out the trees? You know, we have to pay for the trees plus have to...
I think we can all, that have sat on here for a while, can probably tell you who took them out. But
yes, we all know who took them out.
But 2 overstory trees. I mean, is this a big deal then?
No, I'm not really upset about it.
Give you nice shade in your yard and stuff?
I'm not upset about that. I'm not even going to argue with you.
But you're upset that it happened?
I'm upset that we're here,
Yep.
once again, paying to have our properties, you know what I'm saying? There's people who's got $200,000 homes, and, you know, 37% of the property isn't really ours. We can't do nothing with it. Can't have a shed, can't have, you know, it's not right, you know, for the property owners. The guys that made all the money, they're happy, you know, they got the money, but not us. If we went to sell our homes today, ain't nobody wants that home. Who wants a $200,000 home? 37% of it, they can't have nothing on it.
One thing I do want to clarify is when the subdivision plats are approved by the city, those are recorded documents, and those easements show up on a title search when you buy a property at any point. So the recognition of easements on a property should be showing up when a person is buying a property through their title search.
Right.
Now, that doesn't mean that each person buying the property reads that information or recognizes that information, but it is on a recorded document and is shown up on a title search and will show up on each transfer of property from here on. So as far as the lack of recognition, you know, a lot of people don't understand what the zoning of their property is when they buy it. So I guess we can't speak for everything, but I do know we do record those plats, and those easements are recorded document and are part of the legal transfer of that property.
And I would say this, having done a number of title opinions, that the easements do get picked up by the people doing the title opinions. So I don't know why you didn't know that, but that would have been on your title opinion when you got it back.
Yes, the day we bought our homes, they gave us a buck, you know. Why is it that almost everybody on the north side didn't know nothing about no easement? Are we that ignorant? Are we that stupid? You know what I'm saying? Or was we misled?
I can't answer that.
That's what I'm saying.
Brian?
the sad thing is most people, when they make the most important purchase of their life, the most expensive, they don't hire an attorney for themselves. They rely on their real estate agent and maybe the bank at looking at it. All of them have no consideration for what happens to you, and a lot of people don't realize they really need to hire their own attorney to go through it, and that day of signing say, oh, this isn't going to work. So, and that's probably, you got a title opinion and everything else, but there wasn't an attorney standing there for you.
Right. Once again, the homeowner has to foot the bill. See, that's what falls back on the homeowners. That's what upsets me. You know, let's get, you know, it's, the homeowners is all misled, is what I'm saying.
I understand, Steve.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else? Any other questions? Thank you.
Yeah.
Please step forward, give us your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Michael Johnstone. My wife's back there, Annalisa. We are at 2429 East Porter. We represent the one and only South Side house, I guess, that's here tonight. I wrote this down. I didn't get it in the mail in time. I apologize for that. I was supposed to return that prior to this meeting. But in short, it says, I disagree with the staff rationale and recommendation. If the council favors the rationale, then the property taxes should be adjusted to a proper plat size, taking that 30-foot by the width of the lot out, because on a .25 acre, that doesn't leave much property beyond the back of the deck, which is like 10 feet off the house. I don't hear any recommendations about anything about property taxes, but it was as it was. I don't know all the behind things, but it was on a abatement for 5 years, so that's slowly increasing. 30 foot, I already said that.
Mike, you have the card that you were supposed to return?
I'm sorry?
You're saying you have the card that you're supposed to return?
Yes.
Yeah, you can do that before you leave here. Just give it to Bert there.
In short, I don't agree with the rationale. My lot has trees. They are half decayed, like most of the other trees around the area. The drainage issue was noted to me when I first bought the house in 2006, when there was nobody out there, and I wanted that south side lot versus the other ones because of the trees. So I do agree with the popularity of having the trees for an aesthetic value. However, I don't think it impacts somebody putting up a chain link fence or something like that on their property to keep their dogs in or something like that. So I'm in favor of the requested action, which is get rid of the easement or adjust taxes to a proper plat size. Thank you.
And add 2 overstory trees?
If it was not at the homeowner's expense, yes.
So who would you have pay for?
I would have Jerry's home pay for it if it was me.
Thanks.
Sorry.
Jack?
Sir?
Is there a homeowners association which governs what the fences look like?
No, sir.
They have all different kinds of fences in the back lots.
To my knowledge, that's correct. There is no homeowners association. And that's one of the reasons I moved from Ankeny down to Des Moines, was because I like Des Moines, and now I'm working back up towards Ankeny. But I just recently retired, and I'm just living the dream. But I just think that an issue as such as fences and what you can do within a quarter-acre lot is becoming a little over-restrictive. That's just my point of view. So, thank you.
Please give us your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Heather Hatchcraft, and I live at 2438 East Porter. I purchased my home in the spring of 2008, and I was told at the time of purchase that there was an easement, but I was told by Jerry's Homes that that did not preclude the building of fences. Excuse me. In 2009, in the spring, I inquired with the city as to whether or not I could build a fence. I spoke with the permit office, and they told me verbally, and I explicitly explained that I knew that there was an easement and questioned whether or not this would be a concern. They told me it would not. I, at that point in time, was still deciding whether or not I should build a fence and trying to figure out how the finance of all that would work. And in the spring of 2010, I had decided at that point that we were going to go ahead and build the fence. I did obtain a permit to do the fence with no restrictions. And again, I specifically indicated that there was an easement on my property. In December of 2010, I received a letter indicating that I would need to remove my fence and would be fined if I did not do this. at the amount, I believe, of $750 a day, and remembering that this is early December and the ground is frozen. I had 30 days at that point, they said, to remove the fence. Obviously, I think this was unfair. Because if there was some system to follow in terms of what I should have done right that I didn't do, I certainly didn't know it. And so I felt that the city had kind of done a disservice to me and betrayed me. So I went to my neighbor Steve and I said, hey, did you get a letter like this? He said, yes, I did. I also got permits for the structures in my yard. And he started looking around, and the neighbors had also, some of them received permits for the structures in their yard. So I feel like we, in good faith, as a neighborhood, I know myself personally, did not intend in any way to break any rules. And so I feel like that was unfair. I did receive a report yesterday from the Plan and Zoning Commission about the recommendations, and so I read through that, and I just wanted to go over a few points that I either take issue with or just want to clear the record, at least from my perspective. The report in no way indicated that my neighbors or I did receive permits for the structures that we built, and so I just thought that maybe would be a point of interest to all of you, knowing that we thought we were acting in good faith. The report misstates my request, which was that we be allowed to keep our existing structures, and I did not. I authored the original letter and invited others to sign it. Some of them chose to and some of them chose not to, but my intent was not that we lose the easement in its entirety, but that it be modified in some way. And the reason I thought that was an important point of interest is because I feel like I have just as much interest as anyone else does, probably more so in keeping those trees, because our intent was not to get rid of trees. That's part of the reason we did buy our home there. I also just wanted to point out that if I did have to remove my fence, again, this was not a minimal expense for me and my family. We're middle-income people. And if I have to remove the fence, by the way, we built it ourselves, it would be great expense to us. And I just feel like that would be really unfair to us. The last paragraph of Section 2, in the section that says applicable information, indicates that there is no evidence that a drainage system was installed by Jerry's Homes, which resulted in the removal of several trees. However, I lived in my home prior to the system being installed, and so I know that the drainage system was installed and did result in the removal of much of the vegetation that had been there prior to the construction. Furthermore, Jerry's used several pieces of large machinery to create this drainage system that we as homeowners do not have access to. So, was I angry as a homeowner that Jerry's took out some of the shrubbery and trees in the back of a lot that I thought was supposed to be protected? Sure I was. But they told me it was necessary for the water to run away properly. And so I took that from them in good faith. They also told us that they had consulted with some body of folks like yourselves and that was approved. That's what they told me. And so my sod line actually changed. My sod line did run to the end of the easement, and prior to them doing that construction, now bear in mind that mine is the oldest house on that street where the easement runs, and so my sod line actually changed. They actually came in and added additional sod at the same time that they sodded Steve's house. And that was because they tore out the trees and shrubbery that were there. There are some larger trees that they left. In conclusion, the staff recommendation states that they would essentially like to amend the existing easement restrictions. Is that how you say that? But that they're not saying that we don't have, it's fine, conservation area anymore, but that it would be allowable to build certain structures. I'm fine with that. That's what I thought it was going to be at the onset. I'm also fine with the idea of planting 2 trees because I thought that I was going to have to tear down a fence at great expense to myself and then lose the money that I've currently invested in that. And I realize it seems like maybe I'm on the wrong side, speaking on the wrong side of this issue. I just wanted some of this to be stated for the record, so that you all knew the depth of this issue. It's not just a simple little story about some neighbors who decided to build a fence without permits. That's not the case.
So if I can clarify, I think you would be pleased, tell me if I'm stating this wrong, you would be pleased if the action of this board was to affirm that any structure that had received approval by the city would be able to remain in place.
I think that's fair. I mean, I paid for a permit, and it's in the Polk County, you look on my house on the Polk County Assessors, it's listed there that I received a permit.
It's almost like double jeopardy if you believed that you had followed all the rules and you did, and it was actually an error of the city, then it's sort of double jeopardy.
Right. And what I was told by the city was that that permit had been issued erroneously, but that it was my responsibility to know that.
Well, we all hear different things.
We're not going to.
But did I properly state your position?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Brian, did you have a question?
Sure. And Heather, what I found interesting is that you spoke to Jerry's Homes ripping the trees out.
I did speak to them because.
But you spoke to it here that you actually said.
I said, don't tear down my trees.
If the city is confused at all about who removed the trees.
It was Jerry's Homes. The evidence of that is that, number one, it required large pieces of machinery. Number two, there's a drainage pipe that runs through the back part of my yard. So all you would have to do is dig down about 3 feet and find that drainage pipe.
And this was done when?
It was like spring of 2009. Steve, when did you move into your house? 2000?
So not only did Jerry's Homes apparently do this, they did it without permits, without grading permits.
I can't speak to that.
Well, maybe the city has that on record that they got grading permits and it was okay. So
my understanding was that they did have permits because I inquired about it because I considered those trees and that shrubbery as part of the value of my home. Now, when that value decreased because they took them away, I thought, well, heck, if I've got sod, I'm going to fence it in. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, at that point, it's no longer a nature reserve. It's not a place where, deer are going to come.
So if there's any confusion by the city of what happened, you'd be glad to help the city and tell them.
Absolutely. If they want to come and interview me, they can even come and look in my yard to see where the drainage system runs. In fact, both Steve and I now have the issue that because of the way that the water is, how would you say that? It is drained. Channeled. Whenever it rains, both he and I have a very distinct rain line that goes towards the back of my yard. In my yard, it's further towards the back, and in his yard, it's further up, and that's a concern. It makes it difficult for him to use his yard, and I would be very angry if it were me and it were my yard.
What is your address on Porter, please?
2438.
So that's the one that you can see that has the sod in the back, is that right?
And as I said, that sod line changed after Jerry's came in and did that, changed the easement. And that's why when I inquired about the building of my fence, I inquired as to whether or not I should be putting the fence where my previous sod line had been, or should I be putting my fence to where the new sod line was.
And then you said that Steve also had a permit to build the fence, is that correct?
That's what I understand to be true.
And what's your address?
2434.
Right beside her.
Oh, to the east?
Yep.
Whole land shed.
Yeah, okay.
Whole fence.
No, to the west.
And you denied my shed.
Okay. Anything else, Heather?
No, I think I'm good.
Do I hear that as a consequence of the tree removal, the drainage flow on your properties along the north property line was improved so that water tended to move away from your property more efficiently? Was that what's going on back there?
I can't really speak to that. I think, and I may be wrong, I don't think it affected my property as much as it did properties that were further down from me. I'm not sure which direction. Further west, east? Okay. But I didn't have any issues with a wet yard prior to that. Now, bearing in mind that that wasn't a part of my yard that I actually used because it was filled with shrubs and trees, so, you know, I mean, it wasn't sodded prior to that.
I'm just trying to learn whether you think there was a betterment to some of these properties at the same time that some of these trees were going down.
I'm sorry, what was this?
Betterment.
A betterment? Do you mean that they were?
Drainage improved.
Improvement.
I would venture to guess that there was, either that or Jerry's just wanted to present a more appealing yard to potential buyers in an economy that's not very good for home sales right now. I don't think that they would have necessarily installed the drainage system to do that, though, but maybe at the time that they did that, they just kind of removed the trees at the same time.
And these were large, perhaps yellow machines moving around back there?
Absolutely. I was there the day they did it. And so that's one of the reasons that I wanted to make sure that the record was made clear. Because, you know, this report states that there's no evidence. Well, there is evidence because I was there watching them from my back deck.
Any other questions?
Enough evidence.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Please step forward, give us your name and address.
Hi, my name is Lo Chang, and my address is 2454 East Porter. I'm here. I don't got much to say. Heather already said more than beyond my knowledge. But when I discovered about the easement, whatever it is, so this is my first home and my first experience. After I discovered that, I was very extremely upset. Just like Steve, I bought that house, that property, because the side of the yard and everything, with some parts of the tree in the back. So I have no knowledge, none whatsoever, when I purchased that, and everything done through the builder, and they did it all for me. I just moved in, and so. Like I said, when I thought, wow, this, looks nice, everything. Not until, Steve, said, hey, you know what's going on? I said, no, I have no idea. And so I said, no. I said, I have no idea whatever it is, but I hired the company who installed the fence on it. They said they take the permit out also. So that's all I know, and I don't think it's a big deal. So, and up until now, just about a month ago, so that's when I learned about the problem that my fence is not right. Again, I have no knowledge, none whatsoever. So all I know that for me to purchase, any property, I gotta have some kind of backyard or something, to do something. So I really don't have a whole lot that I know about whatever this is, but just this little part here. So I think that I wouldn't buy any property with no backyard or I wouldn't so for like $20,000.
Sir, did you put a fence in as well? You said.
I did not put on. I hired the company.
That's what I'm saying. You had a fence put in. And you hired a company.
Right.
And they took out permits. They told you they took out permits. Okay.
So then, but to just see the way it stands right now, see the easement that I just understand a little bit of it, and it said that the easement is supposed to be protected tree and all that. So right now it's on naked ground. It's nothing there. So and I don't see any to protect anymore. So I like it the way what I see right now and the way it is right now. So I asking the city and the zone commission please allow us to leave the way it is. I think it still looks very beautiful, looks very nice. So and I don't see any harm or any problem. So.
Any questions? Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Give us your name and address, sir.
John Stodgel, 2446 East Porter. I have a fence too. It's a black chain link like he's got, like people up street's got. The 2 trees don't bother. I got to plant them, or Jerry's ought to pay for it. But can I build a shed?
I think that under the recommendation, it'd be you submit a request to the city for your shed and plant 2 trees, and that would be considered.
That'd be okay.
That would be considered. We'd review each individual case, but if
The reason why I can't answer you is because I don't know whether we've approved this or not.
Oh, okay. But these 2-car garage, on the letters he gives you, got to build so nice of a shed. Well, that's fine with that for covenant, but now they don't want us to build it. And you get a 2-car garage in these new houses, you get 2 cars in there, and that's all the room you got. If you got a regular sized pickup, it's going to stay outside in the snow. So you need a shed, you know, for your lawnmowers and all that other stuff.
Yep.
That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you, John. Anyone here to speak in favor of the application? Seeing none, is there anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? Please come forward, give us your name and address. We're asking you do the same thing, line up on the wall over here.
My name is Dana Lauer.
I'm sorry?
Dana Lauer.
Dana, okay.
I live at 2508 East Porter, so I'm not on the 2400 block. I'm on the 2500 block. There's 2 houses there on the north side, and I'm the last house. I prepared a statement. The conservation easement created by the City Planning and Zoning Commission is an essential regulation for the Carmen Estates neighborhood. It provides many benefits that unfortunately have been overlooked. The conservation easement preserves and protects old growth trees in the back 30 feet of every property in the neighborhood. The importance of these trees is immeasurable, as they provide wind block and create shade, produce oxygen, and maintain a natural habitat for hawks, which battle the rodent population, birds, which battle the insect population, deer, and numerous other animals. The conservation easement also prohibits structures from being built in the back 30 feet of each lot. This is an important regulation because it prevents individuals from constructing buildings that will raise individual property taxes. Each structure could potentially be unsightly and unattractive, thereby lowering the aesthetic value of the neighborhood and in turn lowering the overall property value. Carmen Estates should be considered an extension of Easter Lake and Ewing Parks. It is necessary to protect and preserve the trees in order to maintain the natural beauty of the neighborhood. If the easement is abolished, individuals would be allowed to clear-cut their properties, ruining the natural beauty and lowering the overall property value of the neighborhood. If an amendment is allowed for the 2400 block of East Porter, it will create precedents for change. The City Planning and Zoning Commission created the conservation easement in order to preserve the original trees in our neighborhood and prevent the construction of structures that could potentially be unappealing. These consequences would reflect poorly on the entire neighborhood. If we change the rules because a few individuals decided not to follow them, we lose a sense of order. By allowing a portion of our neighborhood to bend the rules, we lose solidarity. It is necessary for the residents of Carmen Estates to remain united in order to maintain our natural and aesthetic beauty, which will keep our property values from declining. And I also wanted to add, hearing points that were said tonight, we were the first house on the block. We moved in 2006, and we moved into our neighborhood because of the easement. We knew about the easement. We were informed about it. It was on the plat mats. We looked at it, and other neighborhoods didn't have it, and we came to this neighborhood because of it, because we wanted to preserve the trees, because we didn't want a shed in our backyard. We have several large trees in our backyard that are healthy and provide shelter and shade. And as far as we know, you can have chain link fences. That chain link fences are allowed under the easement. It's the privacy fences that are not allowed. So if people are concerned about their fences, they can put up a chain link fence, but not the privacy fences.
Any questions?
Just I wanted to comment. One of the comments you made was that the easement's purpose was to regulate design. There are no restrictions on the PUD that I'm aware of that regulate the design of the sheds. Ultimately, the easement was intended, as you indicated, to preserve the vegetation that was there and the benefits of that. Where the design comes into play is, or review of design is, if the city is going to grant some latitude for building within our easement, then we do have some ability as part of that latitude process to consider, well, what are you going to build in there and what's it going to look like? So I just wanted to clarify the PUD itself did not have any kind of a restriction or a set design for any shed that was placed in a rear yard. So
which is because there's really not any
the
room
PUD
to
doesn't
place
regulate
one.
that.
Right. But if
currently
it is amended and they do allow sheds, I would strongly recommend that they follow suit that other neighborhoods have, and that it has to be sited to match the house and have an aesthetically pleasing look to it.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Please come forward, give us your name and address.
My name is Catherine Cardeman, and I live at 2442 East Porter. And on the map there, I believe I'm the lot that doesn't have a house on it. I bought my property and built my house last spring. I moved in at the end of June, and I was aware of the easement. I was made aware by my realtor, and then a representative of Jerry's Homes did tell me about that as well. I thought the easement was as it stands right now, with the neighbors' fences as they are in position, and the shed that was built by Steve. I thought that was within the guidelines of the easement. I bought that property there with the easement and the trees being there is a big part of my decision. I think I like the aesthetic value that it puts on my home. I like it because it is a conservation area. I was told it would be protected and it could never be changed, and then 6 months later it wants to be, or there's a petition to have it removed. I think that it would be unfair to have it removed totally because of it's my investment in the property, and it adds value to the property. When homes are built on the other side, the north side of the conservation area, that easement provides some privacy, which I think adds value to the home. And again, I like the conservation. I enjoy that area because it is an area where there's a lot of wildlife. We feed the birds, and I'm not sure how many of the trees are dead, but I don't know that it's all of them. And I would really hope that it's not removed.
Any questions? Thank you. Anyone else here to speak in opposition to the application? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing.
Question of Mike before we end.
Well, before we do that, I want to go through this real quick because I'm sitting here looking at this permanent conservation easement. And item number 1 on there says erection of structures prohibited. Grantors shall not excavate, that means dig, within or erect, place, or maintain any structure, including but not limited to garages, accessory buildings, or fences. I mean, it excludes everything. Without obtaining prior written consent of the Community Development Department Director of the city. So, I don't know. Anyway, you had something, Brian?
Yeah, certainly the proper thing right now is to get a motion onto the floor, but I'd like to deviate from that for a second. I'd like to ask Mike, what are our options other than A and B in this stance? I mean, we either can approve or deny, but I think there needs to be an option C on this. It's clear to me. Well, I guess maybe a motion needs to get onto the floor then, because I'm gonna preach for a minute.
Well, I think the staff rec is more than just approve or deny.
Right.
The staff rec is.
But it's still burdening these homeowners for something that somebody else did under the city's watchful eye.
Well, and maybe in some instances they did obtain a permit. I guess once again, from our research, it's not clear whether there were approvals to be doing the grading back there. If Jerry's Homes was doing grading, we'll continue to do research on that. The reality, though, is that we do believe that there is in the past, that this is one of the older PUDs in Easter Lake, actually. And so we have hopefully improved some of the things on how we get easements and how we designate things on plans over the last few years. So, but what I would say is we're very concerned that just granting a waiver of the easement just encourages the next group to just go remove trees and come in and ask for an easement to be waived. And so what we've tried to do is present an alternative to the commission, which would say keep the easements, but allow a case-by-case review, which the easement ultimately identifies as a possibility. I would have to say if one person came in and asked for this probably wouldn't be as big of an issue of the fact that we've realized that an entire easement area has been cleared on a PUD. And so that's why we felt a little uncomfortable approving that administratively to just allow, 20-some lots this exemption. We wanted there at least to be a public hearing on it. So I think what's before you as far as the staff recommendation tries to strike a balance in keeping an emphasis on the value of those easements and hopefully trying to get some new plantings back in there to replace what was taken out. And unfortunately, if that's the current owner, they are the owner of record of the property. If they individually want to go and pursue reimbursement from Jerry's Homes or whatever, that's a private matter. We have to deal with the current ownership of the property on this. As far as the enforcement actions that were cited, enforcement of a $750 fine, that has to be basically a court-ordered action for that level of fine. Secondly, we are going to stay enforcement while this is proceeding, so there isn't a daily fine racking up on these properties. I think several of the people stated they really weren't objecting to planting 2 trees in the back easement. Sure. So I think there would be quite a bit of latitude on the staff's part to allow existing fences to remain, provided that 2 trees were planted in those easements along those yards, and we would review that on a case-by-case basis.
Mr. Chairman, before there's a motion, then I think something of interest to the Plan and Zoning Commission. If you all notice, there's a space north of this that is Silver Oak Enterprises, and it has a lot of trees in that area. The address for Silver Oak Enterprises is 3301 106th Circle in Urbandale. I just did a Google search, and lo and behold, that's the same address as Jerry's Homes, Inc. So along with this motion, whoever comes up with it, burdening the homeowners here, most reasonable people would think that's really too much. And a couple overstory trees isn't bad. But burdening the individual that possibly did this and providing a larger conservation easement onto the property that he currently owns to the north is a reasonable thing for us to consider. And certainly the city to, since they've heard not testimony, but just what some of the people have said that actually happened, I think the city should actually go after this individual. Like they did somebody telling them that they had to tear down a fence and they had 30 days to do it.
I understand. Brian, quite frankly,
I'm open for a motion.
I wouldn't necessarily agree or disagree with you, and I understand your whole precept, but there's also an adage in the law that says we can't bind future boards. Mm-hmm. There's no development in front of us, so it would be difficult for us to come in here and say...
You're exactly right. If we were all sitting here when it came before us, it'd be awesome.
Here's one of the things that I'm concerned about, and I'm not going to put a motion out yet either, but nor can I because I'm the chair. But my concern is if we're going to permit the director to allow fences and allow outbuildings, we need to have some direction for the director to take, as opposed to saying, "I'll go out there on your own and figure it out." So all I'm going to ask for is that whoever brings the motion forward, that we also have some guidelines or request some guidelines, and guess who it's coming back to? Greg again, either by R&O or one of the other bodies to kind of get some guidelines for what the director can and cannot do with respect to granting those additional ventures.
Anti-easement.
I'd like to make a motion.
Thank you, Mike.
I move staff. And I have confidence in staff's ability to work something out. I think with the discussion here, the sense I'm getting anyway is that we're feeling for these neighbors who pulled building permits or fence permits, and they felt that they've done what they needed to do, and yet at the same time we recognize there should be some trees placed there after trees were removed. So I have confidence in staff. I move staff.
So, Mike, you're going to ask that, are you also including that staff would bring back to us some direction that they would be taking with respect to allowance of fences, and that's, some sort of plan?
I think I could probably give you a suggestion what some of our items we would recommend as we're reviewing individual cases. One is if they obtained a permit before and constructed the fence, we would probably recommend that they would be allowed to keep the fence. If they legally got a permit and they can demonstrate they had a permit and it was issued and they complied with that permit, we would allow them to keep that. Any new applications for fences, we would probably prefer to have those be chain link, a black vinyl clad chain link like we've required in almost every new PUD in the last 5 years as a restriction, at least within easements. And then finally, I think one of the neighbors spoke tonight about if we allow a storage shed or something to go out on the property, that we would ask that it have siding to match the principal structure on the property and things like that.
That sounds reasonable.
Okay. Everybody understand the motion? Ken?
Mr. Chair and members of the commission, I'm struggling with this because obviously a lot of empathy for both the current landowners and the prospective landowners in this area. You all remember how long we had to struggle with the tree mitigation ordinance for what, 2.5 years or whatever. We worked on that because like this, a developer without permit or with permit just came in and denuded a wooded area in the south. My feeling is this at the moment, and I'd be glad to hear from other commissioners. For those structures that currently exist, that were properly permitted in the first place, I see really no option but for us to affirm that those are lawful legal structures and that they should stay. Mm-hmm. However, I believe the conservation easement was there for a good reason in the first place, and it ought to be maintained. So I would be resistant to new structures going into the conservation easement, whether there are trees in that easement or not. Remember, vegetation, it's trees forever, but not that tree forever. Remember, there are ways to remediate the harm that's been done in the conservation easement in the near term. I would resist a motion that provides staff the ability to approve new structures in the existing conservation easement. I believe we ought to be in the position of saying what's there is there, what harm has been done we'll live with that, but that no additional harm should be done. No additional encroachment into the conservation easement should be allowed. And that is a motion I could support.
Any other discussion? Will, did you have something?
I happen to concur with what Kent had to say. I would also say that there's people say that good fences make good neighbors, and that may be or that may not be. But I know in our own neighborhood we had a neighbor who erected a fence on a corner lot and received a permit to erect a fence on both sides of the corner, and it was granted. She subsequently received a number of complaints from automobile traffic because automobiles couldn't see who were coming from the other direction at the intersection. And in point of fact, when she discussed the matter with the city, it was true that there was an impediment, a visual impediment, and she was forced to remedy the design of her fence. So my point is that fences might not seem to be, because they're small and still expensive, but not that expensive, although they seem to be an amenity rather than a major piece of infrastructure development. That doesn't mean that when granting a permit, that the permit can be granted with any less seriousness that is given to a larger structure.
Anything else? Everybody understand the motion? Any questions, comments? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by raising your right hand.
What about?
No, I didn't offer anything.
You didn't offer anything. We just had the motion on the table.
If this motion's defeated, I'll offer something.
All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. Opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Fails. I know. The opposition's, okay, me. Will. Shirley too, right? Jackie?
All of us.
All of us.
Yep. Got it.
Motion? You need a motion?
Do I have another motion? Kent, you want to put one forward?
Per my previous statement, I would move that that our recommendation to City Council, right? This is what we're doing. Our recommendation to City Council is that staff review the erection of any facilities, any improvements within the stated conservation easement, and that those improvements that were through no fault of the homeowner placed properly with permits be allowed to stay. That no further encroachment into the conservation easement area be allowed in this development.
What about trees? Don't have any say in trees.
No plan.
No.
No planting?
How can you force someone? You're not going to make anybody. They're not asking.
There's no.
Because we're not eliminating conservation easements.
No.
The whole idea of the trade with the trees was to remediate, but I don't see it as the fault of the homeowner. I don't see that the remediation is their responsibility.
I understand.
Yeah.
I was asking for clarification more than anything, because you're not restoring the quality of the easement. It's just bare grass at this point.
It is my hope that over time that, in fact, improvements will be made in that easement. But that's up to the landowners themselves.
The landowner can plant if they want to.
Yeah, I was looking at that. I don't see anything in there that says they can't plant.
It's not a structure.
It's not a structure. Is there any question? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Kent's motion, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, same sign. It's the same.
What's the prize?
I just want to clarify, this was a recommendation. The City Council will be discussing the item. Trying to think the schedule for the council meetings. This would be forwarded to the City Council at their February 14th meeting. So the council would discuss whether or not to vacate or allow items in the easements. Those meetings begin at 4:30 p.m. The hearings start at 5 p.m. So individual property owners that are interested in that would want to attend the City Council meeting.
Does everybody understand that? If you're still remain interested in this, you need to go to the council hearing and express that interest.
Mr. Chairman, I think it might also be helpful to the neighbors to understand that the easement is still there.
Right. The easement will still.
Should staff describe what they can and cannot do with trees in that easement? I'm sorry?
I don't think there's anything that.
They can't do that.
Just
It doesn't speak to trees, quite frankly, Mike. It just.
Yeah, it says, the easement states, no tree within the easement area larger than 4 inches in
Oh,
diameter,
farther down.
and no
Protection.
tree planted in replacement of any such tree shall be removed or pruned without prior written consent of the city forester of the city. This is upon the removal of any such tree, regardless of the cause, grantor shall cause such tree to be replaced in close proximity within the easement area with a tree overstory species approved by the city, at least 2 inches in diameter in size.
Okay. That's farther down in the easement. That wasn't. Ma'am, did you have a question?
I was just wondering, so it's going to go to city council?
Right.
So city council will decide then if...
Final decision will be by city council. Ours is a recommendation.
They'll make the final decision as to if...
That's correct. That's correct.
I'm sorry. I just want to clarify before everybody from this item leaves. I believe the next date that was referenced is when they will receive your recommendation and actually set the hearing. The actual first public hearing that the council will actually discuss the item would be the following meeting after that. They'll just...
So there'd be the
28th.
28th.
February 28th.
February 28th.
And we can explain that to anybody. Call us if you have questions about that. It's certainly will help you through that.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, a comment then?
Brian, just something?
I would hope that the city pursues this now. There's evidence that a developer did this, and to just let him get off scot-free is...
Okay, Kathy, you're going to make
Guess
a
I
notation
won't
of that.
finish that sentence.
If you would, please. Okay. Any other statements, discussion? Okay. Thank you. Moving on to to item number 6.
Because they're supposed to have a reporter here. She didn't show up.
Yeah.
Cynthia's nice, but she's not here.
Item number 6.
They're so thin on
Request from Economic Auto Sales represented by Achli Duga for review and approval of a site plan, economical auto sales under design guidelines for vehicle display lots on property located at 2713 Martin Luther King Jr. Parkway to expand the existing vehicle display lot area to the east. The subject property is owned by Kathy Harrison. Jason, are you presenting on this one, sir?
Yes, sir.
Thank
Jason
you.
Van Essen with the city's planning staff. This is an aerial showing the subject property on the MLK Parkway corridor, just south of the intersection with Prospect Road. We did not receive any comments from our public notice regarding the site plan. Show you some photographs. This is looking towards the east at the property. The front half of this property has been, over time, has been a vehicle display lot before. You might recall in last year, the property owner came through to rezone the back half to C2 to allow for the car lot, and there were some conditions that were placed on the property as part of that rezone process. So now they're taking that next step of getting a site plan approved for that property. So this is the rear property line from the adjoining property towards the east, looking back towards the west.
Jason, is that the area, the last photo you showed, is that the area that we're going to be discussing?
This is the
They got a
parking lot
brand new
that
billboard
belongs to the school
lease
district.
before this.
So I'm looking at
before it
the
went to
back.
city
This is the
council.
back side
They
of
got
that
a brand new
property.
one.
This is the cell tower that's actually on this the property we're talking about. So yeah, the fence right here would be at the property line. So the subject property is on the other side of the fence, looking.
Oh, it's on the other side of the fence. It's not the portion between the building and the fence. It's on the other side.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That.
I'll point out here the site plan will probably help clarify that a little bit. So here's the aerial that's on the site plan. So I was back in here when I took that picture. Here's the subject property with the 3 existing buildings. And in this photograph, you can see where cars have been displayed in the past. Right now, this is labeled the demolition plan. It's basically showing you what's there. There is the existing asphalt pavement up at the upper part that runs up to the property line. They're showing where this pavement will be removed to allow for the adequate landscaping and setback. They're also showing the gravel material that is back here that was used to access this building and the rest of the site, and identifying that gravel as being removed. There's that cell tower that showed up in the photograph. This is the proposed layout, or showing the landscaping. So new pavement would consist of a drive back here and some parking getting back to the building. There's an overhead door on this part of the building showing display area in this area. There's a note about a perimeter striping, identifying a curb along the planter bed, or we'll just call it planter bed. And then the customer parking. In our review of the site plan, we found that it was in conformance with open space, with landscaping. We really had two comments that are identified that have actually as you know, whenever we have site plans that come before you, they actually also go through our normal administrative review process. So our staff in the Permit and Development Center have already been reviewing this, have gotten a comment letter out, and our two things that kind of pointed out in the body of the staff report have been addressed, or it's been put in letter form that these need to be resolved before a site plan can be approved. And one is the amount of parking that is shown here wouldn't allow for this entire building to be used for service, for use for vehicle service and storage associated with the building, or excuse me, the business or the operation. There would be with 6 stalls that allowed them to use about 2,400 square feet of the building. There'd be about 1,100 square feet of the building that could be used for storage. I misspoke. The service associated with the vehicles and with the car lot is that separation, which creates the parking requirement. The other has to do with the zoning condition with regard to stormwater management. In talking after the staff recommendation had gone out to the applicant's engineer, there's some confusion with regard to our typical site plan requirements of what triggers stormwater, how much of an area, how large of a site you're dealing with triggers the stormwater requirements. In this case, because it is a zoning condition that was agreed to by the owner when the property was rezoned, that size factor does not matter. So I've explained that to them and indicated they need to work with our engineering staff to address that. So having said that, we are recommending approval subject to the applicant addressing all administrative review comments from the Permit and Development Center. As I mentioned, they've gotten a letter out already that does indicate that they need to provide the stormwater management to address that zoning condition, as well as just to clarify which portion of this building will be used, either that or find a way to add another parking stall or two to meet the city's parking requirements. Be happy to answer any questions.
Jack.
They're replacing a large amount of gravel surface parking with
grass is what.
Seeded grass. That should help with.
This area in here and up here says to be seeded.
Joanne.
Is this sewer easement that's shown here is that stormwater?
I would assume, I'd actually let the Vic, their engineer, address that. I assume that that's probably sanitary, but I'm not sure. It's an underground facility either way. So.
Any other questions? Brian, did you have one?
Are there enforcement actions?
Not that I'm aware of.
Your picture that showed vehicles parked, they're stored on the site, are sitting there with flat tires and stuff, and they've been reported before and pictures sent to the city. In fact, there was a car there without doors at one point, but they've been storing vehicles that are broke down and flat tires and things like that there.
I'm not aware of an enforcement action. I do know that it is kind of protocol that when somebody's going through the process of bringing the site into conformance, that they
just let them do whatever
they work on other priorities.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Jason, thank you. Is the applicant present? Could they please come forward?
Yeah, I believe their engineer is, or legal representation.
Ken, give us your name and address.
Kenneth Weiland, attorney for the owner, Kathleen Harrison, and my office address is 107 East Main Street, Knoxville, Iowa. All right.
Go ahead.
Well, basically, the staff recommendation is for approval. The only issues that I thought apparently the issues regarding the drainage is being dealt with, and as far as the issue of the building space there, there's actually a spot. It's actually an under garage that's there that's actually going to be used for the actual repair of the vehicles. So the maintenance is actually occurring in an under garage here, on the actually
south.
Yeah, I was trying to get an explanation for my client as to where it is, but I'm not.
It's
but it is
the drive with the overhead.
Yeah, it's in this area here or somewhere that there's I guess is my understanding of where it is. But so that primary building there is not going to be used for maintenance. There will be some storage in there, but obviously it'll be limited storage, and therefore will not violate the amount, the square footage allowed for storage as discussed. Further, any issues regarding any vehicles being stored on there right now or not? There's nothing there at this time. There may have been in the past, but there is nothing there at this time. So it is currently not any problems or any.
You mean on that lot that there's no cars being stored?
That is my understanding. Is at this time there's nothing being stored there. There may have been in the past, but there isn't anything. Well, are you sure it was being stored there, or just maybe someone was parked there? Because we do have the leasee, of course, is there working on making them, looking at the property. So.
Been moved in months.
Okay. Well, I wasn't aware of that. Is that going to prevent you from being able to vote on this?
Nope. It's just an observation.
Okay. So that unless there's any other questions.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Okay.
Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the application? In favor of the application, please come forward. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? Seeing none. Ken, you need any rebuttal time for yourself?
I don't think so.
Okay. We're going to close the public hearing. I need a motion.
You don't want my motion.
Ken's going to move staff. Any discussion? Join? Okay. Okay. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed? Two of us. The same two that always do it. Okay. Thank you. Moving on to item number 7. 7 was continued. Moving on to item number 8. Request from Get and Go Convenience Stores represented by Peter Clint to rezone property located at 9536 County Line Road. Additional property owned by West Lakes Property LC. Jason, are you presenting on this one? Thank you.
We can go ahead and pass around the cards for this item. We got 3 back, 2 in favor, 1 in opposition. The subject property is located south of County Line Road, to the west, southwest 9th, to the east, South Union Street. That's kind of the general boundary of the greater PUD. Really, the The focus of tonight's discussion is more up here in the corner at the intersection of 9th and County Line. There's an existing Get and Go business at this location. They're wanting to redevelop. As part of that, they would like to purchase land from the primary developer of the PUD to incorporate into their site.
Is there a tree survey?
Brian, you're going to throw me off my game here.
Sorry. For those that don't realize it, this was the area that was bulldozed and clear cut and started our tree mitigation.
Well, we owe them a debt of gratitude.
But it was not come and go that did it.
That's right.
We owe them a debt of gratitude.
It didn't go for any of the goes.
The other part of tonight's item actually was added more so from the staff perspective. When this PUD came through, this area hadn't all come in yet on that as part of the annexation. Greenfield Plaza is not within the city limits, but there was this strip down at the 90 southern feet that the concept plan actually shows single-family lot layout for and everything. It just happened to be outside the city limits. We felt that this was an opportune time to kind of basically clean up something. It's not, we don't really see this as, you know,
It's now in the city.
It's a side note. It's in the city now, so it should be cleaned up.
This is part of the annexation?
Yeah, it came in, and without skipping too far ahead, I'll go ahead and show that because I think it'll make. I'd like to focus on Get and Go, so I just want to get that out of the way. So you can see this is the approved concept plan. This is what's approved on file. These southern lots, right here, this line is the former city limits line. So this area all is within the city now, but this little stretch is zoned A1, which if at some point this has to be rezoned, otherwise this lot layout and the street system can't be realized. They've already been approved essentially.
It was approved that way with the understanding that our annexation petition was still pending at the state and had been for almost 10 years. So we recognized that we were of the belief that that was going to be in the city in a very short order. That's why we approved it that way, and it proved to be that case. It was approved shortly after this.
So here's a photograph of the Get and Go site. Photograph from the Get and Go site looking down south West 9th to the south.
Boy, when it works, it really works.
I love the technology.
And you can.
Is that trees?
You can. It's always greener on the south side, as you can see in the pictures.
Looks left, never green.
So this is looking back towards the north of the 9th Street.
There were 36-inch calipers.
County line looking towards the east. So here's the edge of the existing Get and Go.
Nice trim job by you.
The response map, 3 cards have gone around, 2 in support, 1 in opposition. Let me show the layout before I get into the design stuff. So with this proposal, there are no proposed changes to the layout of the residential part of the development. There's no proposed changes to any of the design standards. There's no, other than having a redefined design for here, there are no changes to any of the notes that relate to the rest of the neighborhood commercial area that was identified on the PUD originally. So here'd be the store, towards the south. You have the canopy area, drive access to 9th and drive to County Line Road to the north. The layout does show vehicle connection points to extend to this neighborhood commercial area, and also this way towards this remaining part of the commercial. I have a better elevation to show you, but this is what's in came with the PUD package. This kind of shows the canopy design, and this shows the fuel canopy design. And when I was going through the files, I I know in talking to, okay, the applicant, that this design is going to mirror the one that was continued. So I did pull the architectural drawings from that site plan file, but I have been trumped with this one right here that's even better.
Looks good.
I thought I was doing good, but that's better, so.
What, Jason, was the one you showed us first of all, was that the existing facility there?
The photograph?
Yeah.
That is correct. Would you like to see that?
Thank you.
Again, okay. All right. I think I'm just going to go ahead and jump right to the staff recommendation and the conditions we're recommending. I have talked to the applicant in advance, and they are in agreement with the staff recommendation. We are recommending approval. We got 7 conditions. Number 1 being that the site be developed in compliance with the gas station and convenience store design guidelines as demonstrated at the development plan stage. Some of the information in the concept plan shows that the design that they have already is working towards a lot of those requirements. You know, at the concept plan stage, we don't request quite the level of detail of information with regard to lighting and different things like that that we do at the development plan stage. So, you know, obviously we'd want to look at that a little closer. Same with, you know, landscaping and this is another site where it's on a corner and having some sort of element at the corner and those sorts of things. So we've got that as a condition that would become a note on the PUD. Number 2 is that cross-access easements for the adjoining neighborhood commercial properties are provided. Number 3 is the provision of sidewalk connections to parcel 13 and 14. We just want to make sure that when this site is developed, that sidewalks are extended all the way to the property line. That way when these parcels, the 214 parts and 13, when they're developed, that we don't get into that trouble where there's like, you know, a 6-foot gap between where they run their sidewalk to and where the sidewalks are on the property. So we'll be, at the development plan stage, we'll be working with them to make sure that that sidewalk extends all the way to the property line, and however it makes logical sense to extend one over to this one and down to this one as well. Condition number 4 is that the fuel canopy columns should be wrapped in masonry materials that match the primary building. Number 5 is that all rooftop mechanical equipment shall be screened by the building's parapet wall or other material as approved by the community development director. 6 is just comply with the C2 landscaping standards. And that the last one we threw in there was that all display items for sale, excluding seasonal items, shall be located within the main building. All outdoor display of seasonal items shall be identified on the development plan and be located outside of any required setback, and that no display shall exceed 5 feet in height. So that is the staff recommendation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Brian?
Number 5, is that a 360-degree view at the parapet wall? The screen mechanicals?
Yeah,
there's going to be development behind.
Right, yes.
Okay.
Joanne?
It says 12 pumping stations. I'm seeing 6 dots, so that's going to be 6 pumps with one on either side.
Yeah, it's
Okay, 'cause I
a
wouldn't want
funny
to-
lingo in the code that we refer to locations versus pumps, but
Yeah. Another thing, are we going to be getting masonry building?
yes, it's, I don't know how well it shows up in this picture, but it's,
Well, I know that one's masonry, but
yeah,
that,
this
one
is,
isn't built
the
yet.
design that's in the PUD documents they submit identifies the masonry material that shows the soldier coursing and these accent blocks on the corners. So this is the design they're hoping to build. Also on 14th, when that site plan will come back to you, you'll see this as well.
That's good. One more question. Are we going to get landscape screening eventually? I mean, it shows it here, but is this building going to get any landscaping?
Yeah, part of at the development plan stage, if the staff recommendation is approved, we're recommending that they be required to follow not only the landscaping languages that are in the gas station and convenience store design guidelines that talk about, you know, like if you have a corner to do something special at the corner, but also to meet our typical C2 landscaping standards. This property is already currently zoned C2. There's some C1 across the street. Kind of made sense to kind of use our typical commercial landscaping, the 7 yard or 5 feet, 7, just kind of depends on the size of the lot, but to have the trees and the shrubs and all the stuff that we normally require, any buffer yard requirements, we'd look at it at that point as well.
Okay, well, with the golf course across the street, I think it's important that this look is nice, so that the whole 4 corners are
And the other
developed
thing I didn't
properly.
point out with regard to the visual quality of the site and relationship to the area, the PUD does propose just a monument sign. There's, it's something on the other one we'll be looking at closer, but, for this setting, I think that's very appropriate. This isn't it's a busy area, but it's still not a major, it's not like Southeast 14th or the interstate or something.
Yes, but there is
There's what I'm trying to get at is there's houses across the street and that sort of stuff that we want to be respectful of.
Okay, but it is going to be a busy section mainly because it is one of the exits off of the highway.
Yeah, no,
Highway 5.
I guess where I was, perhaps I misspoke, where I was heading is that there's a lot of houses really close to this, and the setting has a different feel or a different quality, spatial quality.
Okay.
Jason, what's the proximity of this to our Highway 5 development?
About a mile north.
It's quite a ways.
So it's not going to impact, we're not going to
No.
have any impact to our Highway 5 development at all with this proposal?
No, when the original PUD came through, we would have looked to make sure if it was in one of the areas that we were planning for, but Mike said this is north of that planning boundary.
We actually forwarded the PUD to the consultants that were working on the Highway 5 project and asked for their input on some of the street layouts to make sure that it worked with what they were proposing or anticipating for development in Iowa 5.
The only other concern I have, when you look at that overhead that you had earlier, what are the sight lines like with respect, and I may be asking you something you can't answer, what are the sight lines like? Because obviously the streets that we're building this on are going to improve. They're going to be larger. Is this building going to affect our sight lines? Should we move this building closer to the back of the lot in order to protect
Well,
those?
the building as it is now is really closer. The site
Right.
would become larger. I think the best way to look at that really and to get an estimation of what it might be like in the future is really looking at the site plan, there's the concept plan. And so you have this street right away with the street, the actual pavement within that. And then the building sets back far enough that you have a 24-foot drive aisle plus I believe this is, when I measured it, looking at this, I think it's actually about a 10-foot.
I'm actually
Jason,
not worried about that. I'm worried about the corner, Jason, where you have people pulling up to the corner. Are we gonna have any impediment with this building and that corner? Do you see what I'm saying?
I am, and I specifically talked to the traffic and transportation about the location of how the site was laid out, mostly with regard to the location of the driveways, and they felt that the distances from the corner were appropriate.
Okay. How do you feel about it?
I think it'll work.
All right.
I don't see a problem. I think
Future right-of-way width was accounted for.
Yeah.
It was? Okay, that was my question.
And you understand, that's my concern
Sure.
is that we.
And I probably didn't answer it as directly as I could, but the PUD, when we went through the process originally, we'd spent a lot of time making sure that when this is platted out, that we're getting the right-of-way widths that we need.
Okay, good. Any other questions? Thank you, Jason. Is the applicant present? Can we have them come forward, please? Please give us your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Caleb Smith. I'm with McClure Engineering Company, 8101 Birchwood Court in Johnston, Iowa. I don't have anything to add. Just we're here for support of this. Be happy to answer any questions. But like Jason said, we're in agreement with staff's recommendations. So,
good. Any questions, Brian?
No,
Joanne?
you didn't cut down the trees. I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Anyone here to speak in favor of the application? Seeing none, anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? No, but I have a question on it. Then why don't you come forward, ma'am? Give us your name and address.
Cecilia Backstrom, 8069 Crestview Drive.
All right.
And I don't know if you can tell me, but will there be any costs to the present residents in Greenville Plaza right now in regards to the sanitary sewer or any other costs for the new home additions, as well as Get and Go?
Greenfield Plaza is in the county still. It was not annexed, so it has a private sanitary sewer system that serves that development. This project will not be utilizing that sanitary sewer system.
Okay.
And Greenfield Plaza would remain on their own system.
Okay.
The developer of this project would be responsible for extending sewer through their own project.
Okay, just wanted to check on that. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, you sat a long time for that.
That's all right, it was interesting.
Okay, quick, get her on the commission.
Did you say put her on the committee? Yeah, there you go. Okay. Is there anyone else here to speak either in favor or in opposition to the application? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. Unless, Caleb, you want to respond to? Okay, thank you.
Move staff.
Move staff. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Acclamation. Okay, moving right along.
So we'll be getting the other one back.
We're going to go to item number 9.
Committee director. We took that, put that.
Oh, that's right. We put it on the consent. Okay, thank you. That's great.
Committee director.
All right, director's report.
Well,
Mike.
2 things. There is no lunch tomorrow with the city manager's office. Apologize, I won't be here, and so I'm canceling it. Secondly, Arno will meet next Wednesday. We will have a topic to be discussed on Wednesday. I can't speak to it until Wednesday. Thank you.
Wow. He said Arno's going to meet, and there's no lunch. Because he's
I'm going to be gone.
going to be gone.
Yeah.
Okay. Brian, you had something. I hope.
Election?
Yeah. Hey, Mike. Need to wait a minute.
All right, the nominating committee did meet at the end of the last meeting. Anyone's been available to ask to be on the slate. The slate of candidates currently is the current chairman, Dan Flaherty, vice chair, Kent Sovereign, and second vice chair, Greg. So we'd like to open the floor for any nominations from the floor. Okay, we'll close that. Yep, we'll have the vote at the next meeting then.
Okay, thank you. Anything else for the good of the group?
Very, very quickly, I'm going to forward you all some vignettes from bills filed at the legislature this session, and one of them will excite you all, and that is a description of essential municipal services. And guess what? Nothing in economic development, community development, planning, zoning, or enforcement is considered an essential municipal service. So I just wanted us all to know that we are non-essential as it relates to.
I received, just before we get out of here, I received a correspondence from Rita Connor. Obviously, we lost our member to the Des Moines Enterprise Zone Commission. So if somebody would like to serve, if not, I'm going to draft somebody. Anyway, if you've got, well, you want to know it's all. Anyway, anything else? Seeing nothing, we're adjourned.
I misunderstood that severely. We're looking to.
Haven't seen you around in a while. Where have you been? New look, you found your style. Make you realize your view. Well, I can change your view. And I walk the city like in these shoes. Something old for something new. Change your view.